Hello everyone. In this tutorial, we are going to begin with interview questions on beginner on web application penetration testing. So it's very important to know about interview questions on a beginner stage, like on a penetration testing. So let's get started on this. So the first question you are able to face, you are going to face about penetration testing on what is information security. Like describe about what is information security. So the answer here is information security can be described as protection of all data associated with web applications. An unsecured web application is considered as a risk to both development as well as end users. See, whatever the information you are able to see on a web application, either it may be a code, either it may be any piece of code or application related development code, or anything. Uh, so that may be a vulnerable. So that information has to be secured. So how can you secure that? That is nothing but a penetration testing. Conducting tests such as penetration testing that will help you a company as well as a client to find the loopholes and to patch that. So that is the first question. Now move to second. So what are the advantages of penetration testing? So penetration testing helps for a company as well as a client to protect us from hackers, because a web application may get hacked if there is any breaches, security breaches or a loopholes at the time of development, right? So it gives a company extra layer of protection for a possible future threats. So it's very important to do a penetration testing on each and every individual application as well as a software. Next is third one. The reason for what is vulnerability then? So the term refers the vulnerability of a web application. It's nothing but the attackers or a hackers will look for these type of vulnerabilities. Another name for vulnerability, we call it as a loophole. Okay, so hackers will look for these loopholes, vulnerabilities, and they are going to be exploit that particular application by using these vulnerabilities to gain access, unauthorized access to a web application, and they can do damage to that. So it's better to have to find the vulnerabilities before handing over the application to a client, so that we can fix these type of vulnerabilities and we can prevent hacking from web applications. The next is what is penetration testing. Right? Penetration testing is a security testing. We call it as a security testing, which helps to identify the vulnerabilities of a system. And even penetration testing is an attempt to evaluate the security of a system. We need to evaluate the security of the particular application. Either it may be a manual or automated techniques. It's purely based on a client as well as a company on which way they are going to test. Either you want to do it on a manual or automated task. Okay, so here we are going to check for the main purpose of this testing of penetration testing is to prevent a system or a particular application or any type of application from possible attacks. The fifth question, mostly they are going to ask you, the interviewers are going to ask you about how much time does it take for an penetration testing to be completed. So the length of a time, the duration of a time would be take to a complete a penetration testing. It purely depends upon the factors and nature of a web application, like what is the size of a web application and what are the vulnerabilities you will have and the level of security, all these things, like what technology they have used. So we need to consider all these things and we need to give a approximate time to complete that particular penetration testing. So experience level of penetration testing is being used for a test. Okay, so here we are going to give an approximate time, like based on a technology, based on the vulnerability and the size of a web application and what are the modules they are having. Everything we are going to consider that, and then we are going to give you the approximate date of completing a penetration testing. And apart from that, the sixth question is that, but mostly they are going to ask you, do you have any penetration testing certifications? Because certification plays a key role in a interviews or to get a job. So here we can have many certifications. I have mentioned out of that most three certifications whatever we have right now, that is EC Council Certified Ethical Hacker, CEH. Okay, and apart from that, like GIAC Exploit Researcher and Advanced Penetration Testing, we call it as a shortcut GXPN. And next is Offensive Security Certified Professional, OSCP. So these three certifications plays a key role to get a job in penetration testing. And next, explanation of threat modeling. Like they are going to ask what is threat modeling. Like, threat modeling is simple process of analyzing a possible threats and vulnerabilities within the system. It involves like identifying the hazards and careful studying them and correcting them accordingly. So we are going to find all those things and we are going to correct them accordingly based on that particular web application. Then it comes to eighth question, that is cross-site scripting. What is cross-site scripting? XSS, the shortcut. So cross-site scripting is one of the vulnerability which will be typically found in web applications. By this particular vulnerability, attackers will inject a malicious code at a client site into a web pages whenever by using a JavaScript. Cross-site scripting will use a JavaScript. So the XSS attack is a technique that involves attacker to supply a code to user browser instance, and whenever the user clicks on that, it automatically grab the cookies or it may give you some errors. Malicious code will be executed in a browser level. That is called cross-site scripting. Then what is it? Ninth question, what is the difference between stored and reflected SSS? Stored is nothing but it is going to be executed in a static page. So attacker will what you call attacker will uh, inject a code in static pages, okay, pulled out from a database and displayed it onto a user directly. That comes under stored. So whatever the code which was injected by a hacker, it will be saved into static page in a database. Whenever a normal user comes to that particular page, the script will be executed, the malicious script will be executed. And when you comes to reflected, it's nothing but mostly we'll see that contact us form and input variables, right? Application in applications like forms. There it is going to be the JavaScript, malicious JavaScript will be going to be injected into that particular application forms, and whenever it runs on that particular application, immediately it will give you a reflect, like it is going to show you the response to that particular code. That comes under reflected XSS, okay, in a victim's browser. A tricky question, we can call it as, which OS do you feel more secure, Linux or a Windows? Right, most of them they are going to ask you the same like tricky questions like this. So remember that no OS is secured unless until the administrator is smart enough to secure it. Because whether you use a Windows or a Linux or anything, first you have to be very smart enough to secure your operating system by using some antiviruses, firewalls, and defenders. All these things has to be done. Even Linux, see, Linux is also uh, it's provides a robust security. It's a inbuilt security is there, okay, well and good, it's open source. But if you misconfigured any of these Linux applications or operating system, that can lead to a big threat in a security. So no OS is secured, or like either it may be a Windows or a Linux or a Mac. So these are the basic questions what they are going to ask you for a beginner level. Okay, so intermediate level for web application penetration testing. How data is going to be protected during and after penetration testing. So before starting a penetration testing, all data which is associated with a web application must be carefully backup, because the test can affect the data to prove that a web application is a vulnerability, right? So that is the main job of when a penetration testing, to prove that web application is vulnerable. At that time, the data may be affected. So before starting a penetration testing, just you have to take a backup, and after penetration testing also you have to take a backup, so that uh, nothing will be lost on this application testing, and you can store these copies of a backup copies into your cloud or external resource, or setting up a drive encryptions also. It's purely based on a individual how they are going to take a backup. So explain how risk analysis and penetration testing are different from each other. So risk analysis is studying of all possible errors that may cause problem to a web application. Okay, just we are going to analyze the risk of a web application based on a possible errors, whatever we found. So that comes under risk analysis. While penetration testing is a process of legally attacking the system to discover the vulnerabilities and taking a POCs, proof of catch. At the time of testing, we'll go with a more technically approach, more technical and everything. So risk analysis can be carried out by a normal person who has a probability skills and analyzing skills on that particular errors. A basic skills is required for that, but a penetration testing requires more skill, like in on information technology expert and a computer programming, and preferably if you have a knowledge of ethical hacking, then it's very good where you can uh, get into this particular penetration testing. The next one, what are the tools you are going to use at the time of penetration testing, like preferable tools? So penetration testing requires high level computers and operating system, either it may be a Windows or a Linux, whatever you preferable and you are flexible with that particular operating system. And here we are going to use many tools. Out of that, like we can mention important tools when many are having a free source as well as commercial versions. So here we are going to use a burp suite. So it's having a both free and commercial versions, and Nessus tool, Wireshark tool, it's an open source, and a Metasploit, it's an open source for a Kali Linux, and Nmap tool is an open source for an scanning modules. So these are the tools, some examples of tools we are going to use in a penetration testings. Does penetration testing break a system? Yes. The main primary purpose of doing penetration testing is to break into the web applications or systems in some way or another way. By breaking is nothing but it's a just we are going to bypassing the security modules. We mean that unauthorized access. Breaking is nothing but unauthorized access, right? Which may leads to a damage. So that is a why it's a highly advisable to take a backup of each and every data which is associated with a web application before starting a penetration testing. So, and next, when you go with mostly you are going to face these vulnerability testing attacks, like how they are going to ask you like what is a XSS vulnerability and how you are going to execute that, like testing on a web application. So the answer here is, first of all, you need to identify parameters of a particular web application, input parameters, okay, from a end user in a page. Then the input parameters can be a get parameter or a post method, get method or post method request. Okay, and some of the parameters may be a hidden parameters that may be a vulnerable. Okay, so by using this burp suite tool, we can bypass a client side authentication to test cross-site scripting in a hidden parameters by injecting a small code of JavaScript. Example for testing that example, we are using a alert one, JavaScript alert one, so that we can able to see the response code whether it is executable or not on application response. So if it is executing whatever we injected a malicious code, if it is executing on that particular application and it is reflecting on that page, then that application is vulnerable for cross-site scripting. What is SQL injection? SQL is nothing but a database. So here we are going to injecting a malicious code, like a input validations to a database. Okay, injects a SQL scripts or a commands in a input variables to gain unauthorized access to a application's data. like we'll see most of the breaches, right? Twitter accounts was breached, or some other accounts was breached recently. Just now, at 2 days back, McDonald's data was breached. All these comes under this database injections only. Like they are going to, hackers are going to get the data on from database by injecting a malicious commands which is related to SQL on a web application, and they are going to get that information. So that is a SQL. It's better to have a updated knowledge what's going on around you on a cyber security. What are the breaches you can able to see? Finding on news on that, it will be very helpful for you to attend an interviews when they ask you about a what are the live attacks, recently attacks was done. You should be aware about all those things. Next, it's a very simple question, but somewhat confusing question, we can call it as. What is the difference between IP address and MAC address? So IP address is nothing but we can call it as a, it is going to be assigned for each and every device, and we can take an example of a postal code, postal address, right? So in another words, IP address is also example. We can make an example of postal address where anyone know about this IP addresses, so that they can send in a letter, right, based on a postal address only. It will be located on that. When you go with a MAC address, it's a permanent address for that particular NIC cards, device, network interface cards, permanent address. Example, we can take it as a mobile IMEI number. It will be a permanent number, right? So we can call it as a physical mailbox. Example, we can take it as a physical mailbox. Only your postal carrier, nothing but a network router, can identify it, and you can change it by getting a new mailbox, right? So this is a simple example which we are able to compare between IP address and MAC address. The next one, mention what are web server vulnerabilities. So the common weaknesses or vulnerabilities we'll see in a web server that can be leads to hacking. It can take an advantage. A hacker can take advantage of these type of vulnerabilities. That is nothing but default settings. Like most of the administrators will leave that default settings. Like if you buy any device like a firewall or some other thing, they will leave that username and password as a admin and admin. That's nothing but a default settings. The one thing you need to know is that it's a best practices to change default settings to customized settings whenever you, use whenever you buy a particular hardware equipment. Either it may be a web application also, like developers will use the same thing like default settings like admin or a password, same thing. So it's a better practice. You have to recommend them to change a default settings to customized settings. Then misconfigurations at the time of development or a configuring that particular web servers applications. So if you do any mistake on that particular configurations, it can lead to advantage to a hacker to hack into servers directly. And bugs in operating systems and web servers, like it's a very important to update your operating systems. You have to check for that patches. Whenever you get a patches, you have to update that particular patches on operating system as well as a application, web server application. Either it may be Apache, or it may be a WAMP, or a SAMP servers, or a IAS servers. Whatever the servers you are going to use, web servers, that has to be patched in a regular interval basis, so that it can prevent us from these type of hackings. Next, what is cookie? See, cookie, in our terminology, cookie is a piece of information received from a web browser and stored in a from web server to web browser. So which can be read at any time. So cookie may contain a password information or autofill information and many information, like a unique IDs will be generated for each and every individual session connection, right? So if a hacker get access to this particular cookies, that can lead to a very big damage. A hacker can able to log in into your accounts without a password also, because these cookies can be stealed by cross-site scripting XSS, right? So it's a very toughest challenge where you have to clear your cookies once your job is done. Once your work is done, you have to clear your browsing history and you have to clear your cookies so that you can protect yourself from this type of cookie stealing methodology. So what are the various ways to bypass authentication? See, we have so many ways where we can bypass authentication. Authentication is nothing but just logging into a web application by a correct username and password, right? So how to bypass? How hackers are going to bypass? So there are so many methods are there. Out of that, these are the three methods where we are going to hackers are going to manipulate you to get that username and passwords bypassing. SQL injection. The first attack will be an SQL injection to get a username and password from a database. Second one is cookie manipulations. Like if they get your cookies, they can manipulate your cookies with their cookies on a browser and they can directly log in into your account. That comes under session hijacking. Third one is forceful browsing. Like whenever you browse anything, you'll find some ads and some other links will be open, right? So that comes under forceful browsing. Like when you unwantedly clicks any links or clicks on a particular application or a particular ad, it automatically takes you to some other uh, location. So from there, if any malicious code is executed automatically, a Trojan or a virus or anything will be inserted into your machines and they can easily grab your authentication. Okay, so these are the interview questions for an intermediate layer. So there are so many other, just you can go through on that on the internet so that you can get a more knowledge on this type of questions on penetration testing as well as ethical hack. Advanced level of interview questions on web application penetration testing. So let's get started. Will be on, like, do I need to need still penetration testing although my data is in cloud? See, most of the people are right now they're preferring cloud for their data, right? So at that time also, do we need to test on that application or not? They are going to ask you these type of questions. So in fact, whatever the data it's there in a cloud or it's in a local environment or anything that can be hacked. There is a issues on that, like, because vulnerability can be anything on application, right? So no matter how secure you feel on your web application, but you have to do a penetration testing so that you can protect yourself from future attacks. So in the the most recent attacks right now we are taking place, like we are seeing about the many attacks, right? So almost all are from cloud only, because whatever the uh, data you are seeing, what are the applications you are able to see, everything is related to cloud only, but they are hacking, they are possible to do hacking. So for that, we we, we need to go for an penetration testing, whether it is a cloud, whether it is a local machine, whether it is any type of storage or any other application. We have to do penetration testing to secure ourselves and to find the vulnerabilities to patch that. Okay, mostly the common vulnerabilities they are going to ask you that OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. So OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities are below the top 10, like injection flaws. In these injection flaws, we'll get into some SQL injections, bypass authentications, all these things like HTML injections, host header attacks. All this comes under these injection flaws. And authentication bypass and session management. So session management is nothing but a cookie stealings. Okay, and cross-site scripting, it's one of the biggest vulnerability, and by this cross-site scripting vulnerability, hackers can easily execute a malicious code into client's browser. And authorization bypass and security configurations, like security at the time of configurations on that particular web applications, if a developer or if a administrator has done any mistakes, then it comes into security configurations, misconfigurations, we can call it as another name. The next one is sensitive data exposure. Sensitive data exposure is nothing but the data which is sensitive, which is related to that particular application, either it may be a username and password or some IP addresses or some JSON files. All these comes under which is related to data.sql files. All these files are sensitive data. if you haven't taken, if a developer hasn't taken any security measures, so a hacker can easily get into this sensitive data and they can hack into applications. There is a possibility on that. Cross-site forgery request, CSRF we can call it as. So here, if this vulnerability exists, without logging into that particular application, he can do modifications of that particular profile page. There is a possibility. So, and using vulnerable third-party components, like most of the developers will use third-party components to develop that applications, right, on a websites or any softwares. So that may cause a problem, because if you haven't updated the plugins or whatever the third-party components you have taken from online, so it should not be a default one. You have to customize as per your requirement, and you have to change that particular username and passwords, or it should be an updated version of components. And unvalidated redirects and forwards, here we call it as a, like, whatever you do, like whatever the applications you are able to see, for every, if you click on any particular hyperlink or any link, it automatically redirects to some other pages, right? So if a developer hasn't taken care about that particular redirects or any forwarding links, a hacker can easily modify that URL manipulation. You can call it as a URL manipulation. So if a normal user clicks on any particular link, it automatically takes you to the fake page or a phishing page. We can take that. So unvalidated, whatever the links you are inserting on that particular application in a coding, you have to re-verify that whether it is an internal redirection or external redirection. If it is external redirection, then you have to take care about that, whether it is a genuine link or if it is a fake link or a phishing link. You have to take care about all those things. So if he misses that, then that may easily, hacker can easily misguide that particular client, and they can take that into phishing pages. So they can hack that credentials of that particular web application also. So there are so many options out there, like these are the common web vulnerabilities we are able to see in recent times. How can we prevent cross-site scripting, XSS? So cross-site scripting is nothing but injecting a malicious code, JavaScript code, right? So the scripting language will consist of some characters, special characters, right? So as per web developer, the end user, whatever the users, the end users or clients who are using that application, it should not accept any special characters. It should not accept any special characters in a parameters, input parameters. So that is nothing but a whitelisting. We have to maintain a whitelisting of that particular accepting list of characters, and you have to go for that. And one more thing here, the another extra layer of protection, we can take it as a output encoding, the best technique. So whatever the special characters which they entered into that applications, if a hacker enters into any special characters, or they are writing any script into input parameters, like on a browser or anything, the whatever the code, whatever the script they have given, that should be encoded, HTML encoded, so that we can prevent execution of scripts. By this we can prevent a cross-site scriptings. And then that is how to prevent a SQL injections, structured query language injections, database injections. So in this also, structured query languages, SQL injections can be prevented by implementing proper input validations. Here also we are going to use a whitelisting parameters in username and passwords field, because mostly the hackers will target for username and passwords for these SQL injections. They will try to extract the username and passwords of a web application, right? So parameterized query, whatever the queries they are giving, the code or a syntax which is related to a database, either it may be a string or either it may be any related to a database queries, then it should not accept that. It should not accept. Only a DB, authorized user can able to access that DB, and they can give that SQL queries. But outside users, nothing but end users, should not give that particular SQL injections, SQL commands to that particular application from websites. So that is one of the way where we can prevent these SQL injections by whitelisting and parameterized queries. Okay, so next one. So it's mostly they are going to ask you this type of questions also, like is there any difference between information security and IT security, right? So here there is a difference is there. So information security and IT security both are different terms. First you need to know about these two things. So IT security mainly focuses on technical controls, like whatever we see on antivirus, firewalls, or switches, routers, like all these things like a load balancers. So it comes under purely technical controls of that particular network. Okay, and while coming to information security, it's a wider term. We can call it as a which implies securing information. The name only tells you, right? Information security means securing a information from unauthorized users. Okay, so whatever we are doing like now, what application testing or a penetration testing we can call it as. So just we are going to test that application and we are going to uh, find a vulnerabilities from securing that from leakage of that information, right? So IT security can be considered as a subset of information security. Because why we are telling subset of information security? Because the antivirus, firewalls, load balance, whatever you are deploying in your network, that is also used for protecting us our data from unauthorized access only, right? So that's why we call it as a subset of information security. Okay. Then next is how would you convince a developer to fix the vulnerabilities you found in web application? It's very like a tricky type of question. See, whatever the applications we test and we'll find a vulnerabilities. That is our job. So once you find a vulnerabilities, if you report that vulnerability to a developer, they won't they won't accept their mistakes, right? Anyone, it's a human mentality that no one will accept their own mistakes. So it should be a very polite way. We need to tell to the developer with along with the proofs and demonstration. We need to do a demonstration and we need to take a POC, proof of catch, and you have to explain security, I mean serious, the impact of that particular vulnerability if it is not patched. All these things you have to explain, and you should not get into arguments. First of all, it should be a very polite way by explaining these mistakes. Okay, just we are not taking granted as granting that they have done a mistake. It's a common mistake. What anyone can do the mistakes, right? So just we are going to suggest that particular mistakes. If this particular mistake is available, if vulnerability is available, then a hacker can exploit in this way. Just if you explain them, they can fix that particular vulnerability. So you should have some communication skills also while explaining these vulnerabilities to a developer or a non-technical person, so that they can easily understand that vulnerability and they can accept that mistakes and they can patch that. Okay, next, what are the types of cookies? So there are two types of cookies we can able to see. First one is session cookies and persistent cookies. So session cookies is nothing but the cookies which are temporarily available till that particular session is opened. Okay, and persistent cookies is nothing but it will be stored into hard drive. Okay, and still last till its expiry or manually we are going to remove that. So if I take a simple example of session cookies, see, if you open any net banking particular web application, you will log in, right? After some time, if the application is idle for 10 minutes, it automatically comes out from that particular account, right? It's session timeout. So that comes under temporary. So temporary cookies, whenever it's logged out, it automatically the cookies will be erased from that particular browser or a server. When you go with the persistent cookies, you can take it as a Gmail. Say like when you open a Gmail and you logged in, and after 1 day or 2 days or 3 days also, that particular Gmail will be opened only, right? When you open it automatically Google, the Gmail will be directly open, because without you haven't logged out from that particular Gmail, right? So it will be stored into hard drive, hard disk, I mean nothing but a browser. Okay, still uh, till from when it is going to be expired, either we need to manually remove that, otherwise you have to wait till that expiry date. For every session there will be expiry date. Till that it will be available into that particular browser, so that we can able to access directly. After expiry date, it automatically sessions out, and again we need to log in. So this is a process of types of cookies, the different types of cookies. Next question. So list out the techniques used to prevent web server attacks. So here, web application and web server, both terms are different. So web server is nothing but it is a one of the server which hosts that applications. Okay, so most of the hackers will target web servers also. So why it is going to be hacked? What are the ways hackers will choose to hack into applications? So what things we can patch, what things we can take care of that particular attacks to prevent those type of attacks. The first one is a management, patch management, nothing but whatever the updates you are able to receive, either it may be a Windows or a Linux or a Mac, anything. So from vendor you'll get a patches, right? That has to be updated. Next, secure installation and configuration of operating system. When you install any operating system, then it has to be secured. It has to be secure. You should not leave that as a default credentials. You have to change it to a customized one. Safe installation and configuration of web server, web application. Means when you install any web server, either it may be Apache Tomcat or a IIS, okay, any type of application. So you have to configure that particular applications carefully. You should not blindly just not clicking on next. You have to read that information, and you, as per your requirement, as per customized requirement, what are the port numbers which you are going to use. So everything has to be configured manually as per your requirement, as per web application requirement. Next is regularly you need to scan that particular application and servers, and you need to use antiviruses, firewalls and all those things, and remote administration has to be disabled. Remote desktop services has to be disabled in web server. Okay, and regularly check the default port numbers which are opened. If it is unused port numbers, you have to close that. Okay, if you haven't closed that, and if it is ready to accept any type of connection, hackers can easily enter into a web server by using that particular port numbers if server is not patched. Okay, so these are the ways we are going to use to prevent those type of web server attacks. What is WAF? WAF is nothing but web application firewall. The short name of WAF, web application firewall, is WAF. So it's an intermediate device. It's a intermediate device. It's a hardware actually. So it will going to be sit in between of web client as well as a web server. Okay, and you can take it as a OSI layer 7. So, okay, so here this web application is used as a security device to protect web server attacks. Okay, so mostly we can able to see for a net banking softwares or any major web applications, whatever you see, when you try to upload any applications, it will scan that particular application and extensions, it will check for an extensions and everything. So this will be carried out, and this the security modules will be taken care by this web application firewall for that particular server from attacks. Next, so what are the most important steps you would recommend for securing a new web server if you are configuring a new web server? So as a security analyst, as a cyber security, what are the recommendations we are going to give to a particular administrator? Means minimize the rights, first one, because you should not have uh, full access to everyone. It should be based on a requirement. They have to enable that particular permissions. Okay, so minimizing that particular rights. Update the permissions. So either it may be read only permissions, read, write or executable permissions. So for which users it should be full permissions, for which users it should be only read only permissions. So you have to analyze that, and you have to give that particular permissions, and you have to check regularly the permissions of that particular users. If something is changing or something fishy, if something looks fishy, then you have to again recheck that particular permissions and everything. Next, delete the default data and scripts. When you install any web server or configuring any web server, most of the people may use some default scripts from online, right? Default data and default scripts from online. So at that time, you have to remove that particular default data and you have to change it to as per your requirement. Okay, so that is a one thing. And we have to use web application firewalls, WAF, to secure ourselves from a outside attacks, and enable that logging, like log files. So whoever is logged in, whoever is logging into that particular application, what they are doing, everything has to be logged, to make a note of that everything. So you have to enable that particular IIS logging, so that we can get a log files of that particular server, whoever logged in, what changes they have done, if they have installed any new application, then everything will be recorded on that particular log files, so that we can use it for our future use if something goes wrong. And regularly you have to take a backup, so that if something goes wrong again, we can easily revert that backup, we can directly restore that backup to that particular web server. So the best practices, you need to take a backup regularly, intervals of time, like for every 2 to 3 days you have to take a backup of that, so that we can easily revert that particular snapshots or a particular backups. Next, updating Windows tools install. Whatever the tools you install on that particular application or a particular web server, whatever, either it may be a third party, either it may be a vendor based tools or anything, that has to be updated regularly, so that no attacks can be done mostly. But here, one thing you need to know, we should know, we can't guarantee 100% that this web server will be 100% secured, because in security no one will give you 100% security. 99.9% security we can give that. Till date we can have a particular solutions for that vulnerabilities, but tomorrow if it is a new vulnerability and it has never existed before, then there may be a possibility to attack into that particular web server, right? So those type of attacks, we call it as a 0 day attacks. Once the attack was done, then they will start investigating that particular attack, and they will try to get the solution for that particular attacks. So those type of attacks, we call it as a 0 day attacks. So these are the things, in advanced level of interview questions they are going to ask you. They will test your uh, like the how you're thinking. Okay, so okay, thank you.